But there is one team in the AFC West, that'd be the Chargers, who have bulked up a position that I actually thought they were in decent shape with a young tight end. Oronde Gadsden came on last year a little bit, but they go and add Mike McDaniel as their OC, and he, if you paid any attention to Miami, other than it wasn't just Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, he used a lot of 2 tight end sets quite a bit there, and we all know the Rams last year and the success they had, they were using 3 tight ends a lot of times. In fact, the Rams went and drafted another tight end this year. So all these other teams are going out and adding more depth to the tight end position. Now, you might just say, hey, but what do they have to show for it? And that's a fair point. The Rams had a great year, but they don't have anything to show for it yet.
No, but they were the second best team last year. It's not like they weren't good.
The Chargers, they're trying it out. We'll see if it pays off for them. The Chargers signed David Njoku to that receiver or to that tight end room. So they have another veteran in there. Njoku, it's not a big deal, but it's a 1-year deal for him to go with the rest of the tight end room. Do you think this is going to happen more? And more importantly, did the Chiefs miss an opportunity to do this? Or is this, hey, we know we have one more year. This is what I think it is. One more year with Travis Kelce. We're going to operate our receiving room.
With a single tight end because we have somebody worth operating around.
Exactly. And he's one of the best still. And so we're going to still do that now when we have to pivot in the future. And maybe we do need 2 tight ends to make up or 3 to make up the production.
It's weird. I remember, I have like a specific memory of like, 2021 or 2022 training camp Gold, where you and I sat there and there was like 4 articles in a row written by, I think it might have been Herbie Tiopi at the time, but it was just like 12 personnel, 13 personnel. And there was like a whole off season about it. And we're like, all right. I mean, and they ran it like 4 times. And it was like, I don't know, why did we spend this amount of time talking about this specific thing if it's not something they're going to do? But it's also like the whole league is doing it. Like, and this is what happened with the running back. My fear is that if everyone is doing it, it's working, at least in the interim. So either I want you going to the next evolution of this, or I want you adopting what is the common mindset and policy in the NFL. And they seemingly have the guys to do it, right? Why couldn't Noah Gray and Travis Kelce operate? They probably need one more blocking tight end, but why couldn't the unit they have in place do it, knowing that they already have an extremely talented one? Shouldn't that make it easier? I don't know. In a weird way, it's like it feels like it should make it easier to do that. I'm not saying everyone in the league's doing it, but some of the best offenses are. And so it seems a little bit weird to me that they're not at least entertaining it.
Yeah, I hope they are not, once again, falling behind a little bit. It kind of is. It's the same as the running back stuff, where they were a few years behind the 8 ball on where the league was trending towards valuing running back again. And then here they are. They compensated maybe overly. We'll see. I think it was the right compensation for it, which is signing Kenneth Walker. So are they going to be behind this trend of tight ends being utilized in a different way? I don't know. I tend to think it is, you still have your same offensive coordinator or your same head coach, I should say, who's at the end of his career, and it goes back to the adaptation question, whether or not that's an area where he will fundamentally adapt. And then the other part is, and I truly think this is it, it's just that they have Travis Kelce. They're not going to go to a true multi-tight end on a regular basis type of formation on a regular basis. And they'll say it. We'll have to see in production. It was a very disappointing year for Noah Gray. If we were having this conversation 2 years ago, we would all said, oh, well, Noah Gray fits right into that. All good. He was just extremely disappointing last year.
He had less than 200 yards last year. And look, I understand that Patrick Mahomes was hurt for part of that. He played in 16 games. It's not like he was unavailable for all the games in the lead up to that. He went from slowly improving, 299 yards, 305, 437 and 5 touchdowns. They gave him the extension, and at 25 years old, Gold, it looked like, hey, you know what? Maybe they even have a league average tight end after Travis is gone. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe they got the right kind of guy. What the hell happened? No touchdowns and 178 yards, man, fell apart. But it's also like everyone else in the league is doing it. And some of this is like easy, right? I saw 1 year, $8 million for Njoku, and I said, yeah, I'd have done that. Or some of the other tight end deals this offseason, not the blocking ones, they come at a slightly bigger price. But you saw in the, going back to the draft, in the 3rd or 4th round, there was a massive run of blocking tight ends because everyone in the league wants to do the same thing. They want bigger sets, play action pass, under center run. They want to take advantage of the running. This all comes back to the same thing. Running's back in the NFL. It's going to stick around for a few years. And the Chiefs have been behind that trend already. They're now back closer to it with Kenneth Walker, but don't seem to be adjusting in the tight end scape unless, Like you said, they just think Noah Gray will be better this year, which is possible. I don't want to rule that out. I just don't know what the hell happened. I'd love to go back. Maybe next time we have Nate Taylor in or something. What the hell happened to Noah Gray's year? It was such a lost year anyway. He just was.
Then he got hurt.
One of many failures.
Remember, he got concussion, didn't he? At one point.
He still
that was
played.
A scary hit.
He still played in 16 games, though.
Did he really? He only missed one game?
Missed a single game, and then he was back. He played in 16 games. He had only 21 catches for 178 yards, no scores. He went from averaging 25 yards per game last year to 11. His second career low to his rookie season, in which he essentially just didn't catch a single pass.
I mean, they threw him the ball 37 times. That was it. Targets.
I know. They didn't throw to him. They didn't use him. Either they weren't interested or he was too easy to guard. I don't know which version of it was, but they got to do something, and it always surprises me when they don't, I guess, adjust. I just want them to adjust again, I guess, and make sure that this time they're not behind and then trying to play catch up with the running back, and instead just be on the task while everybody's on the task. That's all.
We mentioned earlier, we now know the full international slate for this upcoming season. The Chiefs do not have an international game, which I think fans are probably happy, but it was very clear. Mark Donovan on the business side of things was very open. Clark Hunt as well were very open to playing international games and wanted to be, in particular, the one they had a chance at, which was playing the Falcons in Madrid. That's going to be Cincinnati, as we all know at this point in time. Does that tell you anything? Like, for this idea, when we talk even with the new stadium, and when we mention the possibility of having a Super Bowl in Kansas City down the road, and everybody says, oh, it's a foregone conclusion. With Clark Hunt's poll, they'll get a Super Bowl. Now, these are two drastically different things. Okay, we're talking about an international game versus a Super Bowl and the money that's invested in a stadium versus just one-off international game. But if I would have told you in the past that, like, Clark Hunt basically requested an international game, wouldn't you have thought that you would have got it?
Normally, yes. But they can't, it's like any other favor. They can't give you them all. Maybe they give them Christmas Day again. Like, just because.
We know that was the other thing they wanted. Yeah, if they don't get Christmas Day as well, it's kind of like, okay, wait a
Then it's like, hey, I've been a team player this whole time. What the hell? Because they have been at the forefront, and we've said this before, the forefront of taking all the arrows. They were one of the earliest international games. Bink had pointed out yesterday. They were the first game on Netflix, Peacock, like almost every single Amazon. They've been pretty much the first game for every new streaming service. They were one of the first Nickelodeon games. All of them. They continuously are, sure, we'll take the publicity. You stick us in whatever time slot you feel fit, and we'll make the rest work. So normally when they're like, hi, we'd like to be in this. But also at the same time, Gold, they got to, there's other teams vying for this. And you got to give some of those franchise and organizations some of those too. So maybe this is just the one they lost. I'm personally thrilled.
Yeah.
Thrilled. They're not playing an overseas game. 8 home games, 9 on the road, normal schedule. I hope they have less primetime games than they have in years. I hope it's like 4. I would like them to have a normal schedule where they can balance it a little bit.
The primetime stuff doesn't bug me. Now that I already know they're playing Monday Night Football, if anything, I would not have wanted it week 1.
Yeah, I don't want that, yeah.
Now that they already got the primetime game in week 1, I don't care. They're going to be on primetime 4 or 5 times, and I actually think you might be correct based off of where things are trending. I almost would be surprised if they're not on Christmas at this point. I don't want them playing on Christmas. We've had that conversation multiple times on this show and in where it's at. And more of a selfish reason, which is I would rather not be focused and stressed out watching the Chiefs play on Christmas or Thanksgiving. That's just where I'm on a personal reason. But I'm with you. I expect them to probably be on one of those, either Thanksgiving Eve.
I think they're going to be
Christmas
on Wednesday
Day.
and Christmas Day. I think they're gonna hit you double again.
They might.
So if they miss the international game, but they get Thanksgiving Eve and Christmas Day, well then they got everything else they wanted. Like this part of it and the request for it, is it a bit surprising to me? Yes, but like you said, genuinely. How many years away are we until every single team plays one international game a year forever as a part of their 18-game schedule? Like 2 years.
Yeah.
As soon as the collective bargaining agreement comes into play, which is 2030 or something, but the NFL has openly said they want to negotiate the 18th game before that in the NFL. And Gold, it'll be 2 or 3 years. The players will cave. They'll give them the 18th game. And 3 years from now, everyone will play one international. Or 2. 1 home, 1 away. Double bye. Both of them will be around the international games, or some will be, and the other ones will be around that first week of the season. They'll send, this is the thing I'll start to hate. At some point, it'll end up being like 3 international games to start the season, not just 1. they'll have somebody playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Sure.
That week, all overseas.
They're going to push
It'll
the
be in
limit.
Paris and Australia and Germany.
Yeah, we've discussed it. The NFL is going to push the envelope, and they're going to eventually hit a wall at some point and find out that it's whether it's too many games, too many international games, whatever it is. But they're going to test it, and we all know that reason why. Like they didn't get rid of Monday Night Football doubleheaders because they didn't think they were fun or entertaining. They got rid of them because they realized they could spin off 5 other games and sell them separately on Thanksgiving Eve and have 2 Black Friday games instead and make more money by selling them to more streaming partners. That's the reason why they didn't move it because they heard you or anybody else complaining about the doubleheader games being too late on Monday night. They switched it because they're going to make more money selling off the extra couple games that they're going to do this year.
Of course they would.
That's it.
It was pointed out by Legend over on Twitch, which is the same thing we've talked about before, which is the league continues to monitor jet evolution. As in when the Jets they legitimately follow studies actively and have admitted it, that they're the second these planes get faster, our ass is going everywhere. If we can get a team there in 4 hours, then we're ramping this thing up. Because then you really can become an international sport, because it is tough to play in an international sport when your body has to recover from a train wreck. And you got to play in 6 days, and you only get so many days to practice, so many days to prepare, and so many days to heal. It's not the same as sending someone international for a soccer match or baseball or a lot of other sports.
It's not, but it is kind of weird though. Baseball, we talk about 162 game inventory. They should be doing once a month these specialty games, whether they're playing at Field of Dreams or Bristol Speedway or wherever. Right? They played games in London, etc. The NFL, you're right about we all know why they want to play internationally, but it is unique for a sport that has less inventory than the NBA and baseball. The NFL plays more actual games internationally. Like baseball, they'll play a series in London, and that's it for the year. That's their international game. Maybe they'll play a series in Tokyo. Yeah. That's it for the year. The NBA will have a Paris series for 1 game, 2 games, and they're done. The NFL has 9 of them or whatever it is this year.
Yeah, they're better. Well, in fairness, they're the bigger league, and they want to grow. But you're right, baseball. But the problem is that baseball would need the faster jets. You got to go there for 3 days, and then you got to be back. You play the Twins on a Tuesday night. You play the White Sox on a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. There isn't 6 days off. There isn't even travel time. Legitimately, you play someone the next day. The whole day would be in a plane if you tried to play a middle-of-the-year series in Tokyo, in Paris, in Germany. You would need better accommodations. Or we said before, more off days and less games.
Yeah, just cut the season down to 110 games.
And then go international and make up the money difference. But they're not going to do that because at this point, nobody's giving up inventory. And look, this is happening today, college football playoff. There's this whole big conversation around the college football playoff today. The ESPN, the TV rights holder for the college football playoff, is 12's good. We want 12. 12's fine. No more than 16. Please, no more than 16. That's a good number for us. We like that number. We'd like to keep it there. Please don't do that. Big 12 and ACC today said, no, we're going with 24. We'll see you at 24.
That's what's
SEC and Big 10, even though the TV
the
partners
Big 10
aren't
wants it
asking
too, actually.
for it.
The Big 10 was the first one.
Yeah, and so the other two of the other conferences that matter signed up and said 24 is fine with us actively, while their TV partners are saying no, thank you. We do not want that many games. Now they'll pay for it. It's not going to stop them from doing it. And I don't know if there is a bubble, but football's growth has been so exponential. Nobody's taking. It's never less games. I've never seen anybody take games away. No. They only ever add rounds, add games, add teams to the playoffs.
The ESPN part is somewhat surprising only because basically by expanding the playoff from their perspective, yes, the cost is going to maybe go up from a rights standpoint. That's why these conferences are also interested, But the bowl games on December 22nd, nobody's watching those.
Yeah, but the college football playoff game,
that's what I'm saying. So, if they're going to have less bowl games if you expand the playoff.
Maybe they don't like how much it would cost. What the increased price and the cost per game and their bottom line or something. But it's also
what kind of advertising revenue are they getting off of the Bahamas Bowl on December 22nd versus a first round game in a 2014 playoff?
I would think nothing, but they don't want it, so there's got to be a reason for it. I think eventually go the other way. If you got 24 teams in a playoff, eventually go the way of the NFL. It won't be one broadcast partner gold. ESPN will get the Final Four.
They already did that with the playoff this year.
Yeah, Turner already had a couple of games.
TNT had a few games.
They sublease some of these damn things. It'll just be worse than that, Drew. Netflix will have a couple. Peacock will have a few. If they're interested or in the NFL market for the NFL games, they'll be interested in college football playoff games. I'm not sure why it is they want less, but they have openly and publicly said
it's because ESPN wants control of it, though. Like right now, ESPN controls it, and there's no.
And the more teams, the less they can control.
There's no distributed rights in college football like there is in the NFL, where everybody gets a piece of the pie and stuff like that. Like it's not the conference. Like even the Big 12 has to scramble and try to find any way possible to get on national television.
Yeah, they're playing these Friday night games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot of times it'll be interesting to see which way it goes. But this is why, like for the Chiefs, yeah, they missed on the international game. They love going to international because there's going to be a million of them. But I'll be paying more or closer attention, I guess, to what happens on the other end of this, where do they get the Christmas Eve, Black Friday, Christmas Day? Do they get all the other games?
One of them at least, I would guess.
Yeah, I'd be kind of shocked if they didn't. And they're also tend to be they were the 3 of the 8 biggest games or something in TV draw, or 5 of the biggest 8.
I think they're getting the Christmas Day game annually. I think
feels like
I think Clark Hunt is like, we are going to be the Cowboys on Christmas. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think Christmas Day is very possible again, and it may be likely at this point. The other thing that I thought the Week 1 Monday Night Football game told us is if there was any doubt about what the TV partners feel the interest in watching the Chiefs is going to be even after a 6-win season, that answered it right away. It's the first game of the year. They're not messing around. You know, like I guess the argument against that would only be that, well, they're not saving them this year. In the past, they would have waited because they know they'd be a playoff team, and so they'd rather have the intrigue early. That would be the only argument of the opposite, which is that the networks are
might not be
gonna,
interesting later.
That maybe they're not going to be good again.
That's
so
not it. Not for the Chiefs.
I know, but that would be the only argument. I think more likely it's that no, the TV partners value them just as much today as they did a year ago.
Agreed. I think that's far more likely the scenario. You almost missed. Apparently, the Chiefs were interested in Juwan Jennings while you're gone. We talked a little bit about it. Yeah. My bigger takeaway was, who the hell's contract were they restructuring to make that work?
Yeah, the money.
My stance is more that.
Juwan Jennings got more money than I think the Chiefs were willing to spend.
He got $13 million, though.
Yeah, but I think the Chiefs, yes, you can always restructure, but with their plan and how they went about the draft and how they've gone about this entire offseason, I think they're trying to still kind of correct their cap situation so that in 27 and beyond, I think they will be, look for them to be a much bigger free agency spender in the next 2 years than they were this year. And I know they went out and spent big money for a running back.
For a single player.
For $45 million is not spending big money. Now, for a running back across, what is it, a 3 or 4 year deal, whatever, it is big money. But that in general is not the 80 handing out $90 million worth of contracts or whatever. No. In fact, they did the opposite. They traded away Trent McDuffie to avoid paying a $120 million contract or whatever it is. So, yeah, Juwan Jennings, I was interested. The longer he was out there, I thought the price would have gone down even more, quite honestly. But $13 million
pretty cheap.
For the Vikings, it's great. They're in a spot where it's a huge year for Kevin O'Connell. You bring in Kyler Murray after the mess of J.J. McCarthy.
Justin Jefferson, Addison, Juwan Jennings,
and
new
you move
quarterback.
from there.
I do love, sometimes the offseason lies always do get me, though, because I saw that it's going to be a true quarterback competition between J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray. Like
McCarthy's done.
Honestly, the thing is, it doesn't hurt you to lie, because if they genuinely gave them 50% of the snaps all the way through training camp, it would be the most lopsided defeat in the history of football. One of those quarterbacks is an actual NFL starting quarterback who has started a number of games. One of them stinks. And I'm not saying Kyler Murray's great, but one of them is a qualified NFL player, and the other guy is awful. So it wouldn't be much of a competition, even if it was an open competition. But also, same head coach. So, that guy watched J.J. McCarthy play and said, please get me another quarterback, please, because that guy stinks. If it were a new coach, maybe you could believe it. Maybe you'd believe their lie, but it's not the case. I was just more like, if they're going to sign somebody like Juwan Jennings, or they were going to pay like Cam Jordan, there is still money they have to move around. And you and I are both in the same camp of making sure it's not Chris Jones. Find somebody else's contract to mess with. Leave Chris Jones where it is.
They can mess with Creed Humphreys and be fun.
You've drafted $1 billion defensive linemen. Let's see if any of them got some juice before you start locking yourself into Chris Jones for years and years and years. I still think he's got some good years left, but I don't want to extend the contract out to where you're staring down the barrel of a $50 million cap hit for Chris Jones with nothing to do with it, nowhere to move it, and nowhere to go. That was my bigger fear with Jennings, is they were going to have to move a lot of money.
I also just think this continues to fuel the flames of, they're just waiting for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. I mean, he's just available for free.
He's going to get, if Jennings got 1 for 13, Tyreek Hill's going to get, before incentives, 1 for 6?
Yeah, probably.
plus incentives that could get it to 13.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe I'm way off. Maybe it's 1 for 10, and it's incentives that bump it above that.
It's like
the guy's
Travis
coming
deal,
off
1
a
for 7 or 8.
devastating knee injury.
Yeah, and he doesn't. And
he's desperate to come back, so you get some leverage on that.
Well, yeah, because his price here is different probably than his price somewhere else. But he posts every week. He posts some Instagram story of him still in a Chiefs uniform every week. And I understand he's only played for 2 teams, so if he's posting like photos of himself playing, he's only got 2 options, other than high school or college. But still, man wants to come back. I think we made it pretty clear at some point down the road that was the case.